Welcome back to the channel, Union Arena players. Today we're looking at the brand new Kaiju number 8 set and going over 6 different deck lists you can throw together between the two colors. As always with these videos, I want to start by saying a few important things before we begin. These lists shown in this video are from Union Arena Japan. These lists are meant to be used as a guide and a starting point, so if you disagree with the list or have a cool idea or tech, let everyone know in the comments below. And remember, these lists are not law. I'm by no means an expert on this set, so feel free to change up your lists. And one more thing to note, if a card is in more than one deck list, we will only go over it the first time to save on time for the video. And I will provide my honest opinions on the decks and suggest other cards for each color after we go over the list. Now, let's get right into the first color, which is yellow, starting with Reno and Kikoru, or as a fellow Yu-Gi-Oh player might call it, 3-Axis, the deck that revolves around 3-cost cards. Funny thing about this list specifically, the official UA social media accounts posted this exact list recently, which isn't all that likely because the ratios are exactly the same and the placements of each card were the same as when I created them in the Bandai TCG Plus app. I'm going to believe that they took the list I made and posted it. Anyways, let's go over the cards. First up, we have the 0-cost Reno, who has a draw trigger. The next 0-cost is the Kikoru, who has a get trigger. And for the final 0-cost, we play the Hoshina for his ability to filter through your deck as well as his active trigger. Although this list only plays 3 because there are some other cards that are more important. Like this one, the 1-cost Reno. This card has the same ability but is a raid target in the deck, so we're playing more of this card. That, and it has a nice draw trigger to help get you through your deck. Next is the 2-cost Kikoru. She has 2 abilities. First, while she's on your field, it's also treated as a 3-cost. This is important for your deck as multiple abilities revolve around having or playing 3-cost cards. Her second ability says during your turn, if another character with 3 required energy is on the same line, she gains 500 BP. This may not seem special at first, but it can definitely help in the early game as well as potentially being a 4K when you combo it with other cards. Continuing on, we have the 3-cost Kafka. His ability says, when played, if it is your turn, you may pay 1 AP. If you do, draw a card, then play up to 1 yellow character card with 3 or less required energy and 1 AP cost from your hand set to resting on your field. So essentially, if you're going about your turn and you plan on playing another 3-cost character after this one, it's most of the time beneficial to use his ability to do so because you get an extra draw out of it for free. He's also the first and only double energy of this deck. Luckily, this deck doesn't really need more than 4 energy because the highest costing card in the deck is a 4-cost raid, so you'll almost never have an energy problem. Then we move to the 3-cost Ihuru, who has the when played ability to choose up to 1 other character on your field. It gains 500 BP until the end of this turn. If this character is played with one of your character, site, or event card abilities, switch it to active. He also has an active trigger and is 3500 BP, so if you pair another copy of this card or the 2-cost Kikoru, you'll have a 4K on your field. For the only other non-trigger card in the deck, we have the 3-cost Reno. During your turn, he gains 500 BP, and when he attacks, you can choose another character on the same line with 3 required energy and give it 500 BP. I'm sure you can see the theme here. Now, for our first raid, we have the 3-cost Reno raid. Let's read him. During your turn, if another character with 3 required energy is on the same line, this character gains 500 BP. When played, play up to 1 yellow character card with 3 or less required energy and 1 AP cost from your hand set to resting onto your field. So this card you'll mainly want to raid on top of your 0 and 1-cost Renos and then play one of the 3 characters we just went over to gain their abilities. Just remember, if you raid this out of life on your opponent's turn and then play specifically the Kafka, he won't activate because his ability only activates on your turn. Next up, we have the 3-cost color trigger Kikoru. Her ability is really strong. When played, if it is your turn and this character is played with one of your character site or event card abilities, choose up to one of your AP cards and switch it to active. So if this card is paired with Reno, you get 2 characters for 0 AP. Otherwise, if she's played by Kafka, it's 2 characters for 1 AP. This specific list doesn't play any sites or events that would trigger her ability, but we'll talk about that here later. And for our final character, we have the 4-cost Raid Kikoru. She can potentially have 4 different abilities. Let's check that out. This character gains all abilities listed below if you have the required number of characters with 3 required energy on the same line. 1 or more, impact 1. 2 or more, when attacking, draw up to 1 card. 3 or more, this character gains 1000 BP. She also has when attacking, choose up to 1 character on your field. It gains 500 BP until the end of the turn. Now, 2 important things to know about this card. First, the mention of characters with 3 required energy on the same line requires those characters to be on the same line as the Kikoru. Some cards do specify the same line as this character, but this one does not, and it's the same meaning. It just saves space in the text box. And second, the when attacking ability is separate to the abilities above it. It's hard to tell, but this card would have been worded something like, this character gains 1000 BP and when attacking, choose up to 1 character on your field. It gains 500 BP until the end of the turn. It not having that and separates the abilities. So as long as this card is rated and no other effects are preventing this character's abilities from activating, she will always have the when attacking ability. Now for the events of the deck. First is the special trigger, who can sideline a 2k or less unless Kikoru's on the field, which would increase that to 4k or less. And then if there's also a character with 3 required energy on your front line, it's 5k or less instead. You can sideline something with 5k or less if the only card on your front line is a 3-cost Kikoru, because it does not require a Kikoru on your field and a separate 3-cost character. Then the last card is the final trigger, which will help restand your AP and hopefully save your life when the time comes. Overall, I think this deck has a really cool idea to it by just making everything have abilities for 3-cost characters and revolve around that. The only downside I would say is that it does require setup to get certain cards to 4k BP, which is technically slower than just having a 4k card. But that's made up with you being able to play cards for free and get AP back. Now with that said, I do want to show you a second list for this deck. This list is slightly more greedy, but also a more aggressive version of the deck. Let's look at the different cards that are played. First is the singular copy of Izumo. This card draws you a card when he's played by a character, site, or event ability, which is similar to the color trigger Kikoru, but this just draws you a card instead. Then we have the 2-cost site, Defense Forces Tachikawa base. This card says, when played, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 character card with 3 or less required energy among them and add it to your hand. Place the remaining on the bottom of the deck in any order. If you added a card to your hand, place 1 card from your hand into your sideline. Activate main, switch to resting, and sideline this card. Play 1 yellow character with 3 or less required energy and 1 AP cost from your hand, set to resting onto your field. So while this card doesn't come in active, it does help you for a really big push, being able to play an additional card for free on a turn after this card is played. This paired with the color trigger Kikoru can restand an AP for free, or at the end of the game, if you're needing energy or a blocker, you can play the 3-cost Kafka and use his ability even if you now don't have the energy, as both of these cards do not require you to actually have 3 energy to play cards from their abilities. And then we move to the last new addition of the deck. We have Screening Exam. This card lets you look at the top 4 cards of your deck, Play up to 1 yellow character with 4 or less required energy and 1 AP cost among them, set to resting onto your field, or perform raid with it. Place the remaining cards on the bottom of your deck in any order. This one is nice as it can search for what you need and play a card. It also has the ability to raid the only 4-cost card in the deck, which is super beneficial and can help you swing for game. Now, looking at this list, you may have noticed something. There is no final trigger in this deck anymore. That's because there's now multiple ways that you can play something for free instead of the previous list, which only had the Reno. Honestly, I'm not sure which of these two decks would be better, but both lists look really cool and I'm excited to get to play against them. Moving on to our next deck, we have the Mina deck. This deck is probably most known for its ability to attack from the energy line, which, unlike Purple Kenshin, doesn't require you to move up the character to the front line when the attack happens. Let's check out the cards. First up is the 0-cost Mina, who has the Get trigger. Then we move on to the 1-cost Mina, who, when played, look at the top 4 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 Mina or Bako card among them and add it to your hand. Place the remaining cards on the bottom of your deck in any order. If you added a card to your hand, place 1 card from your hand into your sideline. Great card since she searches half of your deck. And it is good to note that she is one of 2 non-trigger cards in the deck. Speaking of, here's the other non-trigger, the 2-cost Hoshina. He's got the activate main ability if on the front line, switch to resting, choose 1 character on your opponent's front line, and switch it to resting. This ability is meant to be paired with the Raid Mina. And then obviously if you want to raid over this card, it obviously just benefits you that much more. Next up, we have the 3-cost Mina, who has a similar ability to rest a card when she's played if Bako is on the same line. She's also a double energy generator as well as an active trigger. Then comes the color trigger Bako. This card is exactly like the blue Kirito from the structure deck. Double energy, 3-cost, and has the when played ability to choose a character on your field and move it to the other line. For the top end of the deck, we have the 4-cost Action 2 Mina. This one is the one people will have to watch out for. While it is Action 2, it's very powerful. Let's go over her ability. Play this character set to active onto your field. When played, if on the energy line, this character can attack from the energy line until the end of this turn. Activate main, once per turn, choose up to 1 other character on your field, it gains 1000 BP until the end of the turn. And when attacking, if Bako is on the same line, draw up to 1 card. Very strong, especially if your opponent doesn't know what the deck does. They may block in an incorrect order, and this can potentially win you the game off of small mistakes like that. Just remember, her attack from the energy line is only on the turn she's played. Then we move to the second Bako of the deck, who has the ability during your opponent's turn, if on the front line, Mina cards on your field gain. Your opponent cannot choose this character with abilities on characters or event cards unless they place 1 card from their hand into their sideline as an additional cost. This Bako ability does not stack. This ability is great, especially if your opponent is low on cards. The best thing about this card though is that Bako is also a 4K. Normally when we've seen this ability, the cards they've been on, like Silver Fang or more recently Kikoru, do not have high BP, so they can't really do damage and are kind of just sitting there. This allows you to attack, protect, and potentially get abilities from your Mina who require Bakos on the same line. Next up is the Raid Hoshina, who on play draws a card and cannot be blocked by characters with 3k or less BP. Personally, I think like other characters we've seen in previous sets, the requirement should have been 3500 or less BP, especially since the other yellow deck revolves around 3500 characters, but maybe that would have been too strong within the rare battles. Overall, this card is good and even better when you are able to first use the ability of the 2-cost Hoshina and then raid on top of it. And speaking of raids and pairing with the 2-cost Hoshina, we have the 5-cost Raid Mina. She's got 3 abilities. If Bako is on the same line, this character gains Impact 1. When played, choose up to one character on your opponent's front line and switch it to resting. Activate main if on the front line. Once per turn, choose one resting character on your opponent's front line. It gains this character remains set to resting the next time it would be switched to active. So now you can see if you can raid Mina or use the 2-cost Hoshina or 3-cost Mina, you can consistently keep a card rested on your opponent's front line if your Mina sticks on the field. This deck really embodies the yellow rest mechanic ability. And for the last card we're going over, we play the special trigger of the deck, Unleashed Combat Power 96%, which is your generic special for when Mina is on the field. Overall, a great strategy, being able to potentially rest multiple things and attack from the energy line. 5 potential attacks on 3 or less potential characters is always really good, especially if they don't hit any active triggers. Now, before we get into some cards that could be added to any of the yellow decks that we've gone over, I do have one more list. Here we have, from what I've been hearing, is the best deck in the set. Yellow Hybrid or Reno and Mina. Now, we've already gone over these cards, so there's not much to speak on, but I will say that I've also seen some deck lists try to fit in the Kikoru instead of the Hoshinas. I'm excited to see this deck played a bit more because the combos in this deck are really cool. Raiding Reno to play a Mina for free to rest something, or instead play a Bako for free and move something to another line to potentially get your energy back or protect something, then being able to have access to the energy line attacks and impact and keep something rested is really strong. And now to look at some other cards to add if you're experiencing maybe any issues with the decks. If you're wanting to add in some more variety with 0 costs or just want more in the deck, consider the Hakua or Konami. Both can really benefit the Kikoru deck. Then there's Tae, who can benefit the Mina deck because she's double energy, but also because she's got step and 3500 BP. If you have an action 2 Mina, Tae can become 4500 and then just step back to the energy line during your next turn. Now, as for the events within the yellow color, we have these two. Accepting applicants can search your top 4 cards, which can potentially win you the game if you find an impact or your action 2 Mina to attack from the energy line. Essentially, this card is just a better extra draw or just really good when you're able to play an AP restand. It can also benefit the Kikoru deck by helping find those characters you need to flood the board. I personally don't know if I'd play more than 2 though, because it's not a character and it's only at its best when you can restand an AP. For the next card, now it's time for me to shoot my foe. Playing one of these can really throw off your opponent if they don't see you move up Mina, or when you go past your second AP and they think they're safe from the action 2 Mina. Having an active trigger is also really nice. All of these cards are worth taking a look at and are usually player preference. Let me know if you have any success with these cards. Now moving on to green, which the developers have focused both decks on gaining abilities by resting your own characters. We're going to start with the Kaiju No. 8 deck. This deck has a little bit of everything: draw power and deck filtering, rush ability, good energy generation, great removal, big bodies, and one of the most fun parts of card games, a high skill ceiling. This deck has so many different lines of play that can make this deck very rewarding in the proper hands, but can also allow those with a little less experience to have a harder time with the deck. Let's check out the list. Starting off with the 0 cost Mina, who is there to filter through the deck with her ability and a draw trigger. Then we play the 0 cost Kikoru for her active trigger. Now in this list, this card is played at 2. I don't really feel confident with that, but this list does play extra 2 costs, so it may work. Then we have the 0 cost Kafka, who has a get trigger and is your raid target. Moving on to the 1 cost Kafka, he's also a filter with his wind plate ability. This one has no trigger and is the first of 3 cards without a trigger. We then have the 2 cost Reno, who has step and the activate main ability to switch himself to resting once per turn, to switch to resting 1 active character on your front line, and if you do, this character gains green energy generation until the end of the turn. He's also got an active trigger, so that can save you in life sometimes. For our other 2 costs, we have the Kikoru, who generates an additional energy when active, and then the 3 cost Kikoru, who gains 1000 BP during your turn and has the activate main ability. If on the energy line once per turn, you can only activate this ability if you have 6 or more energy generation. Choose one of your characters on your front line and swap it with this character. This one can come in clutch if you're needing to push for extra damage or swap a character back because it can't attack or something. Just remember, her ability only works while she's on the energy line, so you can't swap her back by herself, unfortunately. For our last double energy of the deck, we have the 3 cost color trigger Kafka. He's able to draw a card for you when he's played. Moving on to the top end of the deck, we start with the 4 cost Mina. Her ability says, activate main if on the front line. Once per turn, you can only activate this ability if this character is active. Choose one other character on your field that was switched from active to resting this turn, switch it to active. This is nice in the case that you use the 2 cost Reno or one of the raids. She's also got a draw trigger. Speaking of raids, we start with the 4 cost Kafka, who has 3 separate abilities. When played, play up to 1 green character card with 2 or less required energy and 1 AP cost from your hand set to resting onto your field. Activate main. If on the front line, switch to resting. Once per turn, draw a card. Activate main. Place 1 card from your hand into your sideline. Once per turn, this character gains 500 BP until the end of the turn. Switch this character to active. Very strong card, especially if you can play out your cards that draw you a card or your 2 cost Kikoru to set up for future turns. A very good card in the beginning of the game. Next up, we have the 6 cost Kaiju No. 8 raid. He's also got 3 abilities. When played, choose up to 1 character with 3000 or less BP on your opponent's frontline and sideline it. If it is your turn, you may switch this character to resting. If you do, 4000 or less BP instead. Activate main, switch to resting. Once per turn, this character gains 1000 BP and impact 1 until the end of the turn. And then another activate main ability to place 1 card from your hand into the sideline once per turn to switch this character to active. So this guy can sideline something, get impact when you need it, and gain BP if you're against a character with 5k BP. Now for our last character, we have the 8 cost Action 2 Kaiju No. 8. This one is not a raid. He says, if you have 2 or more resting characters on your front line, reduce this card's required energy by 2 green energy while in your hand. Play this character set to active onto your field. Damage 2, and when played, choose up to 1 character on your opponent's front line and move it to their energy line. It gains this character cannot move until the start of your next turn. This last ability is incredibly good, especially against those game-ending characters. He can single-handedly save you from troubling situations like impact, damage 2, or potential sidelines from something like Roy Mustang, although it's probably best to just get rid of the Mustang some other way if possible. Either way, great card, especially because he's sitting at 5k base BP and he has a get trigger, so you'll see him from life. And for our last 2 cards, we have the final trigger and AP restand. Now leave the rest to me, as well as the special of the deck, Brace Yourself. This one is 5 cost and says, choose up to 1 character on your opponent's front line and move it to their energy line, draw a card. If Kafka Hibino or Kaiju No. 8 is on your field, you may sideline it instead. And remember, with this ability, there may be certain situations where you do want to push something back instead of sideline something because you want to mess with your opponent's energy line, especially if you've already done so with a 6 cost raid or another one of these. Depending on the deck, forcing them to remove stuff from their field may be more beneficial than sidelining something in certain cases. Either way, a very nice card, being able to draw as well, making this the 5th card of the deck that can draw you cards. Just remember, with that draw, it is only when you move something to the energy line. If you choose to sideline something, you do not get the draw because that has been replaced. Now, this deck is really strong, and I hope it does well in the rare battles coming up soon. Moving on to the final deck of the video, we're looking at Green Hoshina. This deck is all about getting out as many Hoshinas as you can, which can be pretty easy with the search capabilities of this deck. Let's look at the cards. First is the 0-cost Hoshina, who has a get trigger. Then this list plays the 0-cost Konami, who when played can give another character on your field 1k BP. Then we have the 1-cost Hoshina, who can search the top 4 cards of your deck for another Hoshina card. Next is one of the most important cards in the deck, the 2-cost Hoshina with a draw trigger. He has the activate main ability. If on the front line, once per turn, you can only activate this ability if this active character was switched to resting during this turn. Switch this character to active. This ability will make sense once we get to the SRs in the deck. We also play the 3-cost Hoshina, who is a double energy, and just like I mentioned when we were going over the yellow decks, he has the same ability as the Kirito from the starter deck. I honestly love this ability on 3-cost double energy generators, one of my favorite types of cards in the game. He's also got the only active trigger in the deck. For our second double energy generator, we play the 3-cost Mina, who has step and a draw trigger. Then we move into the top end of the deck with the color trigger Hoshina, who says, when played, look at the number of cards on top of your deck equal to the number of other Hoshina cards on your field. Reveal up to 1 Hoshina card among them and add it to your hand. Place the remaining cards on the bottom of your deck in any order. If you added a card to your hand, place 1 card from your hand into your sideline. You may switch 1 active Hoshina on your front line to resting. If you do, switch this character to active. That is important because this one is not a raid. This card being able to come out active can be really aggressive even if you don't have the 2-cost Hoshina to rest, especially if you follow it up with the 4-cost Hoshina raid. He says your opponent cannot choose this character with abilities on characters or event cards unless they place 1 card from their hand into their sideline as an additional cost. Activate main once per turn. Switch 1 other active Hoshina on your front line to resting. If you do, this character gains double attack. So he's got built-in protection as well as potential double attack. Having multiple of this guy on your field can be an actual problem. Just remember, his protection ability does not work against trigger abilities. It is only characters or event cards. Now, for the last card in the deck we're going over, we have the special trigger, which can potentially sideline something up to 11k BP if you set it up right. Realistically, that's never happening, especially since the only thing that can go that high at the moment is Saitama, and he can't be removed. But hey, in the future, there may be something big. Now, to go over some cards within the green color that could be added to your decks. These cards should be considered based on how you play and how your experience with the deck is. None of these cards are characters, so you'll want to be careful with how many you play, but they can definitely be beneficial. The first is Found You, which can look at the top 6 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 character card among them, and add it to your hand. Place the remaining cards on the bottom of your deck in any order. If the card you revealed was Kaiju number 8, choose up to 1 of your AP cards and switch it to active. A decent card to be able to add you any character in the deck, and if it's a Kaiju 8, you're added it for free. Next is Childhood Promise. If you find yourself having too many rested characters on your front line, this card can help, and again, potentially do it for free. It's a nice card, especially in the green Kaiju deck because of how much it draws, so you'll be able to have some extra cards to play afterwards as well. Then we have Fortitude 9.8, which is honestly just okay. This card is essentially the Yachiru from Green Bleach, but in the form of an event, which isn't as good. Although combined with the 6-cost raid Kaiju number 8, forcing your opponent to either take damage 2 or lose a character and take impact 1 can be quite nice, especially if you've just raided the character and removed a character with his first effect. The next card, Monster Sweeper Inc., should, in my opinion, only be played if you're having trouble with the amount of Kafkas you're seeing and you want to get them back into play. It's really good paired with grabbing the color trigger Kafka, being able to draw you a card, but still it's not a character, so I wouldn't recommend playing too many. And for the final card, we have Fire Training Exercise. This card can honestly be played in either of the decks and says switch one active character on your front line to resting. If you do, draw 3 cards. So overall, it's a potential +2 in card economy, giving you additional cards and then still being able to use your abilities like the 2-cost Hoshina and either the Raid Kafka or Raid Kaiju number 8 to restand the characters and attack can help you filter through your deck while still being able to push for damage. Overall, there's lots of different cards to be played with these 2 colors and tons of ways to play now that this set has released. And I know there's only a few days left, but make sure to check to see if there's any release events still going on in your area to get your hands on the winner card or some release stamp cards from the booster. And while we're talking about stamp cards, don't forget all these cards you can get available in the store tournament kits, which will be available until the end of the year. And if you want something slightly more competitive, but also more contained on which decks are played, check out the rare battles starting on November 7th, where you can get these awesome cards for each of the colors. Now, make sure to let me know which deck you're excited for the most, and don't forget, if you haven't already, to subscribe for more Union Arena content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.